Hello, my dears, and welcome back to Whispers of Turkish Stars. Settle in, breathe, and let me take you through the storm that has shaken timelines, fan pages, and cafe chatter all over. Today's whisper is not really a whisper anymore, it's a thundering question ricocheting across the fandom: is Mahassine Merabet carrying Cenk Torun's child? Yes, that sentence alone has sent hearts racing and heads spinning, and we are going to peel back every layer of this rumor, from the first subtle glances to the silences that say almost as much as words. Before we dive in, if you love being first to hear what the industry is buzzing about, make sure you subscribe to Whispers of Turkish Stars and turn on notifications so you never miss the next twist. Your support keeps this community glowing and gives us the fuel to keep investigating what everyone else is just hinting at. Now, let's step into the eye of the storm. The idea that Mahassine and Cenk might be preparing for parenthood shot out of nowhere like a spark on dry grass. One moment the talk was about their latest appearances, the next, the internet was dissecting every look, every outfit, every caption. For those just catching up, Mahassine Merabet, with her poised elegance and a gaze that melts lenses, has become a symbol of modern stardom. And beside her, the familiar profile of Cenk Torun is steady, charismatic, the kind of presence that turns a single smile into an entire narrative, creates an irresistible frame. Their paths, both personal and professional, have overlapped enough to make people wonder. Have we been witnessing a slow-blooming romance hidden in plain sight, or are we all just characters in the story that fans wanted to write? What set this blaze alight? It began with tiny sparks, quiet notes dropped in comments, observations by followers who never miss a detail. Reports say that at a recent gathering, Mahassine appeared to avoid certain dishes and clinked no glass of anything stronger than sparkling water. Innocent, as choices go. But in the court of public fascination, nothing is just nothing. A hand resting just so, a cardigan closed a little higher, a brief touch of the abdomen when she thought cameras weren't looking each moment became a clue. Soon, whispers of "did you see" became long threads, and long threads became late-night conversations, and those turned into fragments of news pushed forward by accounts that swear they have friends of friends inside the circle. But let's breathe and tread carefully. The entertainment world is a shimmering mirror where reflections twist easily, and rumor wears a convincing mask. According to what has reached our desk, neither Cenk nor Mahassine has released a statement that certifies anything. We have not heard a yes. We have not heard a no. We have heard silence, measured, consistent, and in its own way, eloquent. The silence has become its own character in the story, feeding hope for some, caution for others. And in that silence, the fans have turned to detective work, side-by-side comparisons of old and new photographs, a keen eye on the drape of a coat, a soft analysis of how they move when they think they aren't being watched. One cannot forget the weight of privacy. Even the most luminous public figures are allowed a space where intention grows quietly. If there is a baby on the way, then that is a moment sacred enough to be kept close, especially at the beginning. We, as observers, must accept that sometimes the truest events need time to take shape before they can be shared, and those closest to them might be protecting that fragile light. At the same time, how can anyone fail to notice the orchestration of timing? The rumors surged just as both were entering a fresh cycle of professional buzz, new talks, rumored scripts, and guest appearances that reminded everyone why their names command attention. Coincidence? The world of show business rarely relies on coincidence. It tilts towards synergy, even when no one intended it. Let's talk history, because that's the thread that stitches meaning into this patchwork. Cenk has long been a reference point for steady stardom, a man who prefers his work to do the loud talking. Mahassine, with her polished grace and almost regal aura, has a way of walking into a room and directing its mood without raising her voice. Together, even in photographs where they stand 2 steps apart, they create the kind of visual tension that audiences live for. There have been periods when their orbits seemed to drift, broken by gaps that kept fans guessing whether the connection was cooling or just going quiet for a while. And then, as if pulled back by a tide, Sighting's resume, a shared smile appears on a red carpet, and the conversation lights up again. From our vantage point, there are 3 currents carrying this rumor. The first is the vigilant fandom, whose attention catches the tremble of any leaf even when the wind is barely blowing. The second is the echo of insiders who promise they have heard the faint ring of truth, without stepping forward to be named. The third is the hush from Cenk and Mahassine themselves, a hush that is either protective or strategic, or both. If you ask me, the reason people are so ready to believe this story is because it fits the fantasy they have built for these two. The image of a tender, private love finally stepping into the light with a baby as its most irrefutable chapter. And yet, every responsible voice must say this out loud: there is no official confirmation. None. Their teams have stayed as composed as marble. When cornered by microphones, there have been polite laughs, waves, briefly deflected questions. A soft smile can be a puzzle, sometimes it is a lock, sometimes it is a key. For those who want it to be a yes, it feels like a yes. For those who fear it is just noise, it looks like artful restraint. Meanwhile, the world keeps reading tea leaves, a coat thrown over the shoulders in late summer, a hand offered to steady steps on a short stair, a calendar that seems lighter than usual for someone as in demand as Mahassine. But all these signs are interpretive dance, not a birth certificate. What about the social climate around them? The conversation has flooded timelines, spun up conversations in multiple languages, and turned casual observers into avid theorists. Particular words linked to their names have shot to the top of trending lists, as if the whole population needed to find each other and talk about the same sparkle at once. There are montages, love songs recycled onto photo edits, even imagined baby names floating in comment sections. This is the internet at its most feverish. Playful, overeager, sometimes kind, sometimes ruthless. In that tide, a couple can feel both cherished and chased. There's also the matter of the so-called friend of a friend leaks. Some outlets ran with quotes attributed to people close to Mahassine, describing intimate conversations and soft acknowledgments at private dinners. But when the names remain in shadow, how can we measure their truth? It's too easy for a wish to dress up as a memory, for a nod across a crowded room to become a confessional and retelling. As we sift through, we must remember that proximity to fame can warp perception. The closer one tries to stand, the more distorted the view can become. Still, the persistence of the story hints that something is in motion around them, maybe a conversation, maybe a plan, maybe nothing more than a perfectly ordinary chapter being exaggerated by the lens of adoration. Another angle that cannot be ignored is the rhythm of their appearances. Lately, Mahassine has embraced a quieter palette in her wardrobe, fabrics that drape rather than cling, silhouettes that uplift without announcing. At an event last week, Cenk kept near her side more than usual, attentive in small ways that cameras struggle to capture but fans swear they can feel. Was that love speaking softly, or a gentleman's habit? Romantic eyes say the first, skeptical minds say the second. Neither is proof. Both are stories. The question that keeps returning is simple and enormous: what is the truth? The most honest answer we can give right now is that truth is still choosing its moment. Perhaps they are waiting for a threshold to cross a safe week, to tell family in private, to claim the narrative on their own terms. Perhaps there is no baby, and this entire swell is the dream of those who want a classic love story completed with a cradle. Perhaps the truth lies somewhere in between, in a tender connection not ready to be defined by anyone else. In any case, what matters most, beyond the heat of speculation, is respect. Respect for health, for timing, for the quiet decisions that shape a life away from the flash. I want to take a moment to speak to the heart of this community. You gather here because you care, because these artists have brought you laughter when you needed it and courage when you lost it. You study their choices because their art made you feel seen. That is beautiful. It also carries responsibility. If the news is true, we will celebrate with them when they are ready. If it is not, we will let the dream float away without turning it into accusation or disappointment. In the meantime, we do what we always do: we follow with empathy, we ask questions with gentleness, and we keep our focus on the work that introduced us to them in the first place. As for where we go from here, the path is clear. We continue to watch, not to intrude, but to understand. We listen for what is said, not just for what we want to hear. We cherish the moments that are offered and let the rest belong to them. If there is an announcement coming, it will arrive wrapped in their voices, with their timing and their words. And when that day comes, whatever it holds, we will be here to hold space for it with the same warmth we bring to every story. Until then, my loves, take this rumor as a question mark, not a period. Keep your hearts open, keep your minds kind, and keep your ears tuned to Whispers of Turkish Stars. Now, before I let you go, tell me what your intuition says. When you look at the trail of hints, do you see a secret blooming? Or do you think we are watching the entertainment machine churn its gears and throw glitter at the audience? Share your thoughts, your theories, your hopes, down in the comments. You know I read them all, and I love how this community connects the dots together. If you enjoyed being part of this deep dive, tap like, send this to a friend who also can't stop rewatching every clip of Cenk and Mahassine, and make sure you are subscribed so you're always first in line when news breaks. Whatever the truth turns out to be, remember, this space is about heart as much as it is about headlines. Thank you for watching, thank you for caring, and until the next whisper reaches our door, take good care of yourselves and keep your eyes on the stars.